Now, we've got a webinar now, and I think you'll find this a really, really interesting presentation about sustainable FinTech. And for a country for whom FinTech is extraordinarily important, this is really important. It's from Pedro Baiz. Pedro has a background in engineering, lots of experience both in academia and in big data-driven projects, done an underground, HSBC, Heathrow Airport, all sorts, comes out of the school at Imperial. And so let's have that webinar.
Thank you. Can you hear me there?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I'm waiting for some slides to appear at some point. Hopefully they're coming along. But in the meantime, yes, thank you for the introduction. Thank you as well for all the talks, very, very interesting. And yeah, this point about gathering data from the real world to perform research. It is one of the areas that I've been trying to do more and more for the past 8 years since I left academia. I used to be an academic. And yeah, they decided to actually move to more hands-on research, more impactful, well, impactful is maybe, questionable, but definitely much more applied. And yeah, that's where we're going to start. Can you see the slides, by the way? I can see myself twice here, but not the slides.
We can see a slide. Why don't you start and let's see whether it works or not. And if it's not working, I'll shout.
Okay.
That's the deal.
Let's do that. Well, I don't know where we are. The thing is, obviously, I know the slides, so I'll imagine that we are in slide 1. So let's go to the first or the next slide, which should be an introduction. What is sustainable finance?
Right.
It should have some logos. Okay. Now I can see it. Good. Perfect.
But Pedro, but we can't. Can I just shout to the technical folks? Is that it? Yes, sure. Very good. We've got it, Pedro. It's all working. Good. It's marvelous.
Great. Okay, next slide. So as we're really short on this, let's move to next slide. Everybody kind of seen the title. I will actually try to touch on just 3 points very, very quickly. Obviously, it's just 5 minutes. We could have spent a lot of time talking about many things. I think we went back on the slides. I'm not sure.
We're still looking at your green leaves.
No, well, I was expecting to go next.
Great, great. We're on the next slide.
Okay, I cannot see it now here. Oh my God, seems to be a bit complicated to move the slides. Okay, I'll probably will start anyway. But yeah, try to move on to the next. Finally, we are there. That's the slide I was trying to refer to. So it should be now from here a smooth ride. So 3 points I wanted to mention from here. So first is, what is the definition? Obviously, I saw, by the way, an earlier presentations about ESG finance, which is great. And I actually saw some key figures, which are very important, that Luxembourg is one of the main centers of ESG finance in Europe. So it's thank you for the opportunity here. As you can see there is a very quick and simple definition. It's coming actually from the UNEP, as well as it's the same definition we use in ISO. And it is a broad topic. I won't go into details. For example, areas like social aspects, which I believe you also touched during the day, it's huge and barely touched, to my point of view. But yeah, I will try to go here. It's really on the areas of specific financial products that have become really interesting in the past few years, and how that can link to computational mechanics at one point. Obviously, there are lots of layers, complicated, but I believe it's possible. So next slide. So first, when it comes to financial products, I wanted to highlight really the role of the area of green bonds, or even now, I'll show you next as well, the sustainability-linked bonds. The numbers actually speak for themselves. In few years in Europe, across Europe, any type of financial product will need to be ESG. So this is the future. Now, what does that involve? Well, that compared with traditional finance, where we're only looking at a balance sheet, just money. Now you need to look at much more data than that. You need to look at extensively about environmental data, about governance, social, and a growing list of aspects. Now, in this image, what you can see on the right is the potential use of technologies like blockchain. For example, that is numbers extracted from a report a couple of years ago from HSBC, for example, sponsored that. And issuing right now a green bond, $100 million green bond, involves about 6 million or over 6% on cost, transaction costs, the lawyers, the arrangers, the verification, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Automation with things that we were discussing today here and connected assets, IoT, we could actually automate many aspects and reduce the cost of issuance of green bonds by 10 times, to less than $1 million USD. So the potential here is huge. And if you click there at that next slide, or if you click again next, it should highlight. Can you click on next? I cannot see it there, but anyway, it should highlight the area, for example, there of IoT. You see, IoT, Internet of Things, connected assets, to really track what is happening with them. It is becoming a reality that actually financial players could start looking at and getting that assurance and verification that things are actually green. Final slide, or well, next slide. Sorry. So here, just to summarize, I wanted to give a very quick example. One of the things that has been happening even more now is this idea of sustainability linked bonds or KPI linked bonds, where the actual coupon or well, essentially, for you to understand a bit more, the interest rates of a loan can be directly linked or attached to a KPI, key performance indicator. For example, if you reduce emissions by 5%, I will reduce the interest rates by a certain amount. So this is the type of financial products that now the most advanced ones that we're considering. In this case, data from physical assets is equal to money. Energy efficiency improvements, it's equal to lower interest rates, which is equal to less money being paid for your, the value of money. So this has huge implications, and hopefully you can see the connection here of how data finally is embedded everywhere, and its quality, highly important, because it is now related to money. And I just wanted to connect here in this slide is an example that I did with London on the ground. When I was working there, we were trying to improve on KPIs like lost customer hours, which, it's called LCH, you can see there. When obviously London on the ground is a huge organization, different teams have different priorities, different problems. In our organization, a lot on the ground, you have stations teams, you have the track, you have signals systems, you have fleets, etc. This work that I did with them was so specifically on stations. And in stations, when we wanted to look, okay, how can we improve a KPI like lost customer hours? Well, let's look at the data. I was tracking the data for this, and we identify where is the biggest problem? Where do we lose hours, due to an incident and a problem? Well, for anyone who have been in London, Covent Garden is the station that you can see there at the top. And when you start going deeper into what's the problem there, you start coming with details like the problem is actually the lifts, and it's actually related to landing and gears, which is the point at the bottom. And hopefully, well, you can see the connection there that you can link, better final element models, computational mechanic models to design better landings and gears, and how that can affect and link directly with a huge KPI like lost customer hours. I think the last point I wanted to make here, or the complexities on this is that, and I try to inform my colleagues in academia, is that even though physically you may have exactly the same assets, the same piece of material, the same piece of equipment, this doesn't affect equally the organization when it's depending on the context. For example, the lifts in Covent Garden if you know the context of this station has lots of stairs. So if essentially, when the lifts are not working, you actually have to close the station because it is not possible to use the stairs. Okay, because health and safety, especially on a crowded afternoon on Friday, impossible. It's also, you know, very, very touristic place. That means that those lifts in that station are not the same that other lifts in other stations that have, for example, easy stairs and it's just very small distance. You see, this part of context is extremely important, and unfortunately, my colleagues in academia and engineering, they miss that part. They don't understand that, hey, these lifts could be exactly engineering-wise the same, but how they affect the organization is totally different. And that's kind of the experience I try to bring here, and well, hopefully make some sense. I'll stop there. Sorry for the overrunning a bit.
That was brilliant. It was so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you to everybody. I'll let you.
And I noted that 2 of the lifts that went wrong most often are the ones that serve University College London.
Yeah,
yes.
Good context there. They are very central stations. Yeah.
Thank you so much.